Hi, Andrea. Thank you for your next essays. Now let's have a look at your task one answer first. You had to comment on the combined chart, two pie charts and one bar graph. Okay, the two pie charts provide data on the quantities of automobiles used in leasing, in sharing, or purchased in Scotland and England over the 1995, whereas the bar chart illustrates the numbers of sold cars for a renowned automotive brand, Volkswagen, from 90 to 98 in the same cited nations. Okay, nice. Let's fix this a bit. I like the way you're trying to find synonyms for cars. I would simply say leased, shared, or purchased. There's nothing wrong with that. I would say in the course of the year 1995, whereas the bar chart illustrates numbers of cars sold by a renowned automotive brand from two in the same cited, I wouldn't say nations, countries is better. Nation is more about people, and country is more about territory or areas. Overall, in 1995, the major fraction of England and Scotland inhabitants, I would say the majority of, it would be better than saying the major fraction. The majority of England and Scotland bought a car, and apparently a greatly larger amount of Scottish population purchased a Volkswagen than English one. Do you mean they purchased a German car rather than an English one? Yeah, because the end of your sentence says this. You probably mean that more Scots purchased a Volkswagen than Englishmen, right? So you mean the sales were higher in Scotland. Okay. At the first glance at the pie charts, it appears clear that the major part, approximately 2/3, and you can do it like this, approximately 2/3 of the North UK locals, North, why North? Wait a second, England, Scotland, why North UK locals? Do you mean Scotland? I'm not sure why you have this, okay, not sure. Own a private car, okay. Similarly, the larger portion of England inhabitants bought a car. I think I have seen this before, right? Inhabitants bought a car. Let's try to rephrase this. However, in the south, the figures for sold automobiles equal those for car leasing. Okay, I like the fact that you're comparing with the leased cars, but I would definitely advise you rephrase the north-south part because it's really not clear who you mean. With regard to, I would rather go with the suggestion of Microsoft Word and say regarding the bar chart, Volkswagen sales between this and this in Scotland were constantly and extremely higher. I would say were steady and considerably higher. You cannot say extremely higher. It doesn't work like this. Then those in England where they varied significantly. I like this sentence. This is a very nice sentence. Conversely, in the following and last 2 years, the quantities of Volkswagens purchased in England and Scotland were nearly the same. Okay, I wouldn't even do this. No, just were nearly the same. This is a very nice paragraph. Great job. If this is a bit confusing, this is a very good paragraph. Very good highlights too. To conclude, in the middle year of the examined period, I would rather say the year rather than using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words. You can say in which year? Which year? Not sure. 1994 or something like that. Again, I'm not sure what you mean by the middle year. Indicate the year. Both English and Scottish drivers, I would say, or no, drivers, because if you say men, it means women don't drive cars. I wouldn't say so. Prefer to buy and own, not own, an automobile instead of renting or sharing it. Okay, I haven't really heard what you said about um, sharing cars. How about sharing? Bought, sold, owned, leased. I haven't seen shared in here. Perhaps you should have mentioned that because this is something that you're overlooking, and you have to look at the most important features of the visual. Moreover, brand loyalty to VW cars remained steady for Scotland, while it fluctuated consistently in England. In England. Okay. Okay, yes, I know that combined charts are not very easy to do. You tried to do your best, and I like what we have for starters, but pay attention to my remarks. Try to rework this task answer, and I'm sure that it will become much better. I really like this paragraph, and I like the conclusion. The introduction was not bad, yet it needs a bit of work on the vocabulary. This paragraph needs a bit of work. I mean, quite a bit. Now let's have a look at the essay about democracy. So some argue that democracy is under its biggest threat since inception. Some argue that due to global capital markets, the electorate has lost control of their government. What do you think? Give reasons and examples to support your position, period. Okay, ever since its introduction, democracy has been protecting equally the rights uh, of every single member of society. I would say been protected the equality of the rights for every single member of the society. Very nice sentence. I love the sentence. Just let's fix those little grammatical things. Nevertheless, globalization, no, we don't need a the. Globalization seems to menace such this ancient form of government. I wouldn't say it's that ancient, but yeah, there are arguments that it's pretty old. Because daily social necessities are no longer the priority of the leaderships. No, leadership is a quality. I would say leaders, yes. As far as I'm concerned, I agree with this viewpoint. And this is what I would say, I wouldn't say and, I would say this is why the following essay will discuss will discuss, I would say, the issue and provide arguments to support this opinion. Nice. To begin with, the major concern in the global village is the monetary income, even when this implies, even though this implies neglecting constitutional rights, no, not negligence. Have a look at in a dictionary the difference between to neglect and negligence. And you know, the negligence and neglecting as the gerund kind of noun form from neglect are slightly different. Due to the cultural convergence, I like your vocabulary. I like the complexity of your thought. You know, the global village, the cultural convergence. This is aiming very high. The global markets are expanding extraordinarily. I would say the global market. I would generalize it to singular. And as a consequence, this is inducing multinationals to outsourcing. I would say this leads multinationals on the path to outsourcing. However, this process includes depauperating. Ooh, already poor nations. This is a great verb. This is a great rare verb. Can I check a little thing? No suggestions. Uh, Looks like a great verb, which means making even poorer, and I hope it works and it exists as a word. I really hope it does. And labor exploitation since workers are underpaid. For example, it is well known the case of Nike company, which settled its industries in the eastern countries of the world. I would rephrase this in the eastern countries. You don't need of the world, or in Southeast Asian countries, something like this. With the average salaries for employers, not employers, for employees. The employee is the person who gives you work. are notoriously lower and working conditions are tremendously worse. Very nice. Therefore, governments which deliberately destroy fundamental rights of the working class for their own interests could not be considered democratic because they are not ruling anymore for the masses. They're not ruling for the masses anymore. Very nice ideas, very impressive complexity. Yet, I have a little thing. This is about politics, and this is about economy. Make a little transition from the and use the idea that, well, if Nike has that huge factory in Bangladesh, for example, and the Bangladeshi government supports this and gives them, and let's say, and benefits from this company having factories in their own country. So this means they undermine the welfare of their own people because their people are being exploited, right? So create this transition, and this paragraph will be perfect. All considered, I would say this considered, the democracy is going to face a crucial identity crisis as governments will be entirely managed by the richest tycoons of the Western countries. Great. We are on the way to a very nice band, but we really have to be careful with language use. Historically and conceptually, democratic politics have been able to satisfy the social necessities due to their leaders being representatives, no, not representatives of the lower classes. Do you mean politics as a science, politicians as people? I'm not sure what you meant by this word, because you say this plural thing, have been able to satisfy the social necessities due to their leaders. I would suggest you do this. Democracy has been able to satisfy the social necessities of countries that use this political system as a basis due to their leaders being representatives of the lower classes. I mean, the concept is complicated, but you cannot simply say this. You need to add what I have just said. Conversely, since today's society is thought to be governed by plutocrats, very nice vocabulary, you have an impressive range of politically themed vocabulary. To ensure economic progress, numerous laws and rules in defense of minorities instead of general population will be promulgated. For example, in 2012, why do we need to capitalize here, I wonder? A technical government was established in Italy in order to face the ongoing financial crisis. Do you mean technical or technocratic? I am not sure what you mean because I am not sure what was happening in 2012. Was that the Berlusconi scandal or something? Because you refer to the financial crisis, and I remember he was revealed as being extremely corrupted. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. Apparently, you're Italian. Are you Italian? That's a question I don't know. If yes, you probably know what you're talking about. Was able to raise taxation, but the government, right? So I would say, thus, you need a concluding word here. Thus, they were able only to raise taxation upon common citizens to ensure periodical incomes to banks because their survival was retained to be necessary. I'm not sure why you use retained. Why retained? No, you need another word, and I'm not sure what you mean by this retained, so I can't help you here. To abate the crisis. Abate is great. Yet citizens did not tolerate the fiscal pressure, which caused no, it wasn't the cause. While the financial crisis continued to spread, so the technocratic, not technical government Was forced, not has been forced. You're speaking about the past, so you need to use the past simple. Was forced to hand in, to resign, simply to resign. Just resign and that's it. Okay, to resign. To sum up, and you need the conclusion to this wonderful paragraph. So, remember, start from your main idea. You have a great paragraph. Just find a way to wrap up the main idea and sum up, because this is a lot of complex thought and this is impressive. They happen to have political studies or something like political economics, something like this, because you look to have very good a very good understanding of what you're writing about. So the topic is not difficult for you. I can see that you can handle it, but you really need to finish your paragraph so that your writing is well-rounded and complete. To conclude, democracy is being endangered seriously, is being seriously endangered by globalization, because human rights will no longer be respected. Why will soon no longer be, will soon I'm kind of stuck, okay? Because human rights will be respected. Okay, I'm not going to write, I'm going to say it. Will be respected less and less in the future, and because the plutocratic government will not be able to produce let's say, legislation based on equality, as their unique interests will be represented by money. No, as their only interest, their sole interest focuses on money, something like this. Okay, it's a bit trickier here, but the language here needs to be fixed a bit more. So, Andrea, I told you what I think about task one. You have a great essay here because it's complex. It is complex, and you have delved very deep to explain how things work. And this complexity of thought will certainly give you a good score in task achievement, but you really need to work a bit on coherence and language. So try to make an error list and kind of wrap your mind around my comments. I really hope it works. And I'm sure that you can add the necessary corrections to polish up this essay and make it truly a gem. So all the best of luck and looking forward to more.